Welcome back, YouTube pipe smokers. Mutton Chop Piper here. Well, today's video is entitled The Deeming Regulations, an update. But before we get started on that, I wanted to let you know about a future video I'm making. It's one that a lot of you guys have asked me to do, and I wanted to wait until the mid-December or so, make sure there wasn't any new tobaccos that have come out that I really like that I wanted to include. But the video that I'm talking about is my favorite blends of 2016. So that one will be out in a couple of weeks. I'm working on it now. So look forward to that blend here in a couple of weeks. All right, well, let's continue on with today's video. Well, turns out that our part of the tobacco industry had its day in court against the FDA. And unfortunately, it didn't go quite our way, but there is a glimmer of hope, and I will explain that. But first, I want to bring you up to speed on what we as the tobacco community, when it comes to pipes and cigars, or what our argument is against the FDA. So let me read you some of the counts that we have brought to the court to try to get some of this stuff corrected. Count 1, FDA's actions regarding the predicate date and the substantial equivalent process are arbitrary, capricious, and abuse of discretion and not in accordance with law and exceed FDA's regulatory authority. 2, the final rules user fee provisions are arbitrary, capricious, and not in accordance with the Tobacco Control Act and exceeds FDA regulatory authority. 3, the final rules user fee provisions violate plaintiffs' members' right to due process and equal protection. Treatment of premium cigars and failure to consider option 2 is arbitrary and capricious. Regulation of pipes as components rather than as accessories is arbitrary, capricious, and not in accordance with the law. So, these counts were brought before the court. Do you know what the FDA's response was? Did not. So let me reread these counts and add their response. Count 1, FDA's actions regarding the predicate date and the substantial equivalence process are arbitrary, capricious, and abuse of discretion and not in accordance with law and exceed FDA's regulatory authority. Does not. The final rules user fee provisions violate plaintiffs' members' right to due process and equal protection. Does not. Regulation of pipes as condiments components rather than as accessories is arbitrary, capricious, and not in accordance with law. Does not. Believe it or not, the court bought it. Basically, the FDA says, no, it doesn't. Does not. And they bought it. Now, here's the glimmer of hope. There's one count that the judge had to stop a minute and say, well, I need to investigate this. I need to research this a little bit further before I provide a ruling. And now let me read you what that one is. FDA's failure to carry out a proper cost-benefit analysis violates the Regulatory Flexibility Act and Unfunded Mandates Reform Act of 1995. So, the FDA did not conduct a proper cost-benefit analysis before putting out this regulation. Well, that violates 2 acts that Congress voted into law. So, my argument is she shouldn't have to take time to look at that. It was an act that was voted into law by Congress. So it's a law. So what is she going to do? Research it, come back and say, nah, FDA, you don't have to worry about that. Let's not worry about that law. Okay, wait a minute. That's a law. So if a law is in place, all I got to do is get a judge to say, don't worry about it. Congress doesn't know what they're doing. They're a bunch of yahoos. They don't know. No, that's not that. To me, that's not the way things go. If an act was voted into law and you don't follow that law, then you're in violation of that law. So you have to conduct this cost analysis because you failed to do that, and there's a law saying you have to. Now, the thing about it is, this judge that's seeing our case, she has in the past voted with the FDA and voted with the plaintiff. So we got a 50-50 shot here. So as far as I know right now, there's been no, she's not brought a judgment against this one count. But I will try to keep vigilant, and once that ruling comes down, I'll let you guys know. Now, what could that do for us? Well, I'm not sure how long this cost analysis takes, but I think it's probably going to take a couple of years to do. So that would push the final date, the date the regulation is in full force. That date right now is August 8th of 2018. That could possibly push that date back to August 8th of 2020. Or further, depending on how long it takes them to do this cost analysis. So, like I said, that's the glimmer of hope. Now, something else I wanted to let you guys know is that in my job, I work with county government. And we work very closely with state government. So here recently we had our conference. We have an annual conference every year. And one of the guest speakers was Congressman Andy Barr. Now, there are 3 individuals that I sent a complaint to about the FDA deeming regulation. 2 of them sent me back form letters. Yeah, basically what they did was they repeated everything I sent them, and that was it. Andy Barr, on the other hand, he sent me back a letter explaining the deeming regulation, explaining what his office was looking to do, and he even sent me a way that they are looking at trying to circumvent the FDA's power when it comes to the deeming regulation. I think the way he put it was in the Farm Act, or the Farm Bill, they are going to try to put into that bill and get it passed to where the FDA will not be funded when it comes to testing and authorizing pipe tobacco, cigars, hookah tobacco, something like that. They can use, they will fund the FDA, and they can use money for the regular Tobacco Act, the Anti-Tobacco Act, but they cannot use money to fund the deeming regulation. I'm hoping that's kind of what it means. I'm not sure if that's exactly what it means, but that's the gist of it that I got. So I approached him, and I wanted to thank him. I shook his hand and told him, I appreciate you sending me, a letter back, that at least you read my letter and you sat down and talked about it and wrote out a response instead of just sending me a form letter. And he said, well, he said, don't worry about it. He goes, we are very close with our folks at the Cigar Commission. He said, we're working very close with them. And we're watching this, and we're prepared to do some stuff about it. And that was reassuring to me. But he's only one guy. So he's got to bring a bunch of other senators or congressmen on board to try to get this changed. But at least it gave me some hope that we have someone up there that is looking out for us. When he was on stage speaking, I got to talk to his chief of staff. He gave me his email account to where he wants me to keep in contact. He wants me to let him know what we as a community are thinking, what we as a community want to happen. And he said he'll relay that to Andy Barr. So I'm going to put a bug in his ear, every couple of months or so, just letting him know we're still here and that we're still expect something to get done about this. And I'm hoping that enough congressmen will be swayed to help us out. But I thought that was really cool. I thought that, that I'm not really a big political person, but he stepped up. He really did. He stepped up, and he's looking out for us. So I'm really that buoys my spirit. I'm hoping that he will be able to convince other congressmen and maybe senators to help us out. All right, well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. Until my next video, I want to wish you and your family happy piping.